I'll get us kicked off here.
Right.
Today we welcome Carrie Boevers. I have worked probably 100 yards or less away from you for years. But I'm actually really excited for this podcast because I don't know that we've ever really gotten to sit down and talk. And I've always been very, very envious and very, I definitely look up to you guys and what you guys do at Lush Fashion Lounge. You guys have a retail location as well as you rent half the shopping center, I think, at this point. Next to our Quail Springs location. And for those that don't know, that was our first Triad location. We started back in 2015, and you guys were already rocking and rolling at that point. And for years, I've watched you guys. Gosh, how many employees do you guys have now?
Oh gosh, right now, probably we're in 20 range, 20 to 30. We were up to like 54 at one point.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a lot to manage.
Yeah, we've gotten a little bit smaller in the last few years, so which is nice.
Payroll is expensive. So we're trying to figure that out ourselves on how to make sure that we keep that to a minimum because we're, I think, at 17 right now. So
I don't even know all their names.
Yeah.
I feel that like in the first few years, whenever we started growing, like there was like, I think we had 3 of us for a while, and then we grew to 7. And when we grew to 7, I was like, man, I need to know. We hired people from the outside. Like there wasn't like my manager who's still with me, my general manager. That's my best friend's younger sister. So I know her. That's Leslie.
Okay, I was going to ask.
So that's my best friend's sister. And so I just gave her a job when she was in college and she never left. So
perfect. We love those.
Leslie and Matt are both awesome.
Yes.
We love them.
And then eventually her husband, Matt, is our photographer, but
nice.
He was the web manager first. He shipped online orders out of college, just looking for another job. And then he never left either. So
those are the best ones.
But when we grew to, 7 and there was, I think 3 girls that we didn't really know, but somebody else knew them and sent them our way. I was like, man, I got to take these girls to brunch. I got to ask if they have boyfriends. Like I need to know all about their life because I didn't know anything about them. And I wanted to keep that like small family style. And then it was just like a free for all after that.
Yeah. That is how it goes.
I was going to talk about that. I think Leslie, Matt, and Jordan, I mean, I've been seeing them for years. I feel like being able to watch them be around for so long and such diehard team members that it speaks volumes of how you run your team and definitely am very complimentary of that. So
thank you. And Jordan's also he was at the time one of the girls we hired from the outside. That 7 group was his wife now, and so they weren't married at the time, but that was her boyfriend. And same, he kind of always was around, and I would pay him cash to help with things around here and there. And then we grew, and I was like, man, do you want to work here?
Yeah. So he seems like a hard worker. I see him back and forth all the time.
Jordan's the best.
That's awesome.
Yeah. They're all great, but like, yeah.
So my experience with Lush, this will be my perspective of working way too many hours in Triad, in between your retail location and online in the warehouse, is looking out the window and just all day long, no matter what the weather was, Lush people walking back and forth with carts and clothing racks, and I'm like, I don't know if they're doing a lot of sales or if they're just doing that for fun. But
it's very unique how we operate, but it works.
That's right.
Yeah.
So when did you get into business? When did you guys start?
2009. So we're in year that March will be our 16th year. We just passed the 15-year mark.
That's amazing.
So, yeah.
And I've never heard this story, but how did you get started?
Well, I went to school. I was a broadcast major first, actually, for 2 years. I played basketball. And then I switched from that school and decided to go to UCO. And I did fashion marketing just because it sounded fun, if I'm being honest. Like, I like to shop. And
why not?
I worked for Abercrombie for a little bit, too. So I just kind of was like, well, I'll get this degree. I don't know if I'll use it. But honestly, I was just going to get a degree, you know?
Yeah, right.
And then I graduated and I was applying. I wanted to be in sports marketing or something like that, actually. I was applying with like NBA teams and stuff, but we didn't have one at the time, so I was just going to move. And then my dad just kind of put it in my ear. He was like, well, why don't you open your own dress shop? I'll never forget how he worded it. Dress shop? I'm like, okay. I mean, at that point, I had retail management experience. I had merchandising experience. I even had experience in like LP, loss prevention, like kind of that stuff. And so I'm thinking, okay, like maybe I could do this. Like, I don't really know, but I don't know how to buy. Like, I don't know where people go to buy the clothing. I was never a buyer, you know, but my dad's very successful. And he was like, well, I could probably figure out a budget for you. Let's like sit down and figure it out. And, you know, if you've got friends in the industry, maybe talk to them. Well, two of my very good friends are the owners of Metro Shoe Warehouse.
Oh, okay.
And
very cool.
So I took them to happy hour and kind of like showed them my dad and I had like scribbled this budget on a yellow legal pad.
Yeah, right.
And like I brought it with me and they were like, yeah, that looks great and all, but like, yeah, you're going to have to figure out how to buy. Like the rest of it, like who cares how much OG&E is going to cost? Like,
yeah, right.
You know, like, cool, Carrie. So, yeah, I just went for it. I had another friend who owned a small boutique back years ago, and he still remembered the ropes of going to market. So I took him to Dallas with me to market just to have somebody like take that anxiety away and walk me in the building and be like, okay, this is how it works. And if they say this to you, this is what it means.
Yeah.
And so I had some friends along the way kind of help me out. But after that, it was just trial and error. I mean, it was just opening the doors and figuring it out every day.
Yeah. What does that process kind of look like? Because I know for us, like I'm sitting here thinking like, gosh, like purchasing inventory, and a reason I've been very excited to talk to you is we're both in retail, but you realize how different retail it is because we are typically ordering very small amounts frequently, and we've got probably 100 different vendors that we're just ordering kind of whenever we need to, and just it's primarily restocking as opposed to new stuff. But I'm sure with clothing, you're probably having to rotate so often that I'm just curious what that process kind of looks like.
Yeah, it's constantly. I mean, we do a lot of restocking too when we get popular items, or we have some things like staples that we are always going to carry. But for the most part, our stuff is changing. So changing with the trends, and so it's trying to forecast, you know, what the trends are, but then also mix in the staples and the bestsellers and keep on top of restocking those and keeping them flowing through, but then keeping the new stuff flowing through and staying on trend. But then being in business and fashion for 16 years, I still have to find, you know, that same customer that has been shopping with me for 16 years that's now, you know, my age or older, but then also now they're bringing their teenage daughters in too. We're buying for a very broad age range too. So
yeah, we were talking about how fast like supplements go in and out of style. The clothing, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it's quick, especially where, you know, we're affordable prices, and so we're turning it and burning it like pretty quick. So yeah.
Was there a point when you started having to cater to kind of two different demographics?
Honestly, that kind of took care of itself in the very beginning. I was 23 when I opened it. 24. I just aged myself, but whatever. But but I'd already kind of covered like a very special area where, I mean, women in their 30s and 40s were coming in and shopping with me, and my mom at the time was 50, I don't know. And so, and she loved to shop there, and her friends liked to shop there. So I quickly realized like, okay, my taste is very broad, and so we kind of always were like that, but I see it more so now that I see these same customers that came in 2009. They're still coming in, and now they've literally got 16-year-old daughters or 15-year-old daughters that are shopping with us too.
Right.
So. A very loyal customer base, it sounds like.
Yeah.
What are there certain things that you've done to cultivate that loyal customer base?
I think just in the beginning, like, I remember the first 6 months, every single purchase somebody made, we were we were getting their names. We still get their names to this day. A lot of stores don't really do that anymore, but it just makes it so easy if they lose their receipt or, anything like that. It's really just so to help them track if they want to return something, or people can come in and say their names if they're buying gifts, and we can kind of look them up and be like, okay, she likes this. This is what we still do that even though we're bigger. But when we were smaller, it was just me and one other person in there. I made sure that I remembered regular people's names always and called them by names. But then also I hand wrote, we were gathering their names and their addresses because I was sending out snail mail. This is back when that was still, I was getting like postcards made and like come shop and like snail mail still. And so I would handwrite a card catered to what they bought. Like, hey, Ashley, I hope you enjoy this pair of 1921 jeans that you purchased from us. Next time you come in, you might think about pairing it with this. I mean, it was just so like low technology, like things websites do now, but like I was doing it by hand and like snail mailing it out. So I was sending handwritten thank you notes. And then when Leslie, who's still my general manager now, she was my third employee ever. And so even when she was there just as a part-timer in college, like now I'm starting to get other people in and I'm saying you have to remember the regulars by name. It's very important to me. Like these women come in, they drop their kids off for school, and they come in and they sit down and they have a cup of coffee with me and talk to me before they shop. That's kind of where it got the Lush Fashion Lounge, because we really do have lounge areas in there. And these women would come in and lounge and hang out and talk to me.
Right. It's a whole experience.
And,
They also drop their boyfriends off at Triad.
Yes.
And we keep sports on the TV. I can't tell you,
Energy
especially
drinks.
I can't tell you how many times we've gotten customers of like my wife or my girlfriend's shopping over at Lush, and I didn't know what to do, so I saw you had sports on in here.
Well, what's funny is we keep sports on. So we have two lounges now, one in the front, but we took the chairs out. We actually used to have a lounge in the front with chairs. Now we've got a lounge by the fitting rooms, which is our kids' lounge, and we usually keep like cartoons on in that one so kids can hang out and be occupied while mom tries clothes on. But depending on if it's like March Madness or things like that, we always put sports on both the TVs, but sports is usually on the front TV. But we took the chairs out, so now the guys feel awkward like standing in the middle of the store watching sports. But I used to get that all the time. Like they'd be like, God, she plays sports in there. Like,
this is awesome.
Mindful of the boyfriends and husbands. That's smart.
That's just the former athlete in me, I think. I'm like, well, I'm watching sports. So.
Anytime we go somewhere, I always embarrass Laurel when it should be like a boutique shopping or whatever. And I'll go up to the front counter and be like, hello, where's the dad chair at? And they're like, oh, the dad chair's over there. And I'm like, thank you. That's where I'm going to be seated. And if you need me, let me know.
You talked about handwritten thank you cards, and I think we kind of started a very, very similar way of when we first opened, and we'd be open for 12 hours a day, and we would have one customer in that full 12 hours. It was like, man, I really appreciate that one person a lot. I'm gonna write them a really good card.
And you guys did do that, actually. I remember. Yes.
Now, do you guys still have any form of that at all?
Not the handwritten thank yous, no. But I mean, we have like different email segments now, and so the most repeated customers or the loyalty and things like that, they get segmented, maybe different discounts or offers.
Certain algorithm that's kind of automated. I'm sure I'm sure you've been able to scale quite a bit because of that. So, we still do currently have handwritten notes. All employees have to write a certain amount, and we always say, we want to hit first time customers, and we want to hit the ones that haven't gotten one in a while. We usually kind of keep notes, but it is time consuming. That's for sure.
It's very time consuming. At one point, like when the website started to really grow, I think I hand wrote like a note and I had it printed, like mass printed on postcards and put it in there. But we've Alyssa's been able to do some certain things like that with our Define website, not to give too much of our secrets away.
But yeah, that is like it's cool though, because like you talk about that one-on-one experience of people who come in, it being a lounge boutique kind of thing, where you're coming in to just hang out as much as they are to shop. You know, one of our mantras that's actually written into our handbook is, you know, we want to create an environment so cool and so welcoming that even if we didn't have supplements on the walls, customers would come back 2 more times just to hang out, right? And that's the whole thing. Like if we can provide that, it doesn't matter what we have for sale, right? Like people, if we created loyal customers who become friends, like at the end of the day, it's not always going to, that's what kind of proofs you against any other like external factors going on, you know. And I think we saw that a lot during COVID, where like even though, you know, we weren't as busy or something was happening or prices were going up because of cost of goods or whatever, it was like we still had this loyal customer base that still wanted to come in, they still wanted to hang out, they still wanted to spend money with us, you know, they wanted to support us in whatever way they could. But having that kind of like, you know, extra step of like, hey, you're not just a customer, you're somebody who comes in and hangs out, and I care about your life, I know about your kids, whatever that is. I think that is the thing that really makes businesses that take that extra time, you can see why they're more successful.
We had a customer in the very first store, the small store, the first couple years, and she was just one of our like most regulars ever. And she was a little bit older than my demo, but like she was just so trendy, and she was just fascinating, and like everyone loved to talk to her. And I think this is when we were up to like 6 or 7 employees, and every Christmas we put stockings around the store with like the employees' names. She had her own stocking. Like we put a stocking in there for her.
That's awesome. That's so cool to have customers like that.
Yeah. It is. Because that's what, and part of that too, for like your employees, that's what makes work not work. You know, that's the thing that can make it super enjoyable to like go in, because like for me, I know when I'm going into work, like there's a really good chance I'm going to talk to not just my coworkers who are my friends, but customers who are my friends. And I'm going to spend a lot of the day just hanging out with people I want to talk to, talking to them.
Do you feel like you have exponentially more friends because of Lush?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's like I've been doing it for so long now that I have to really think about that and be like, well, what was my life like pre-Lush?
Right. Yeah.
16 years ago. I mean, I was a bartender, so I think I had probably a strong social network back then too. But yeah, no, it's definitely, my network has grown for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a big thing we have to make sure that we communicate to employees is you get to the point where you end up seeing so many people that like when you're out in public, there's probably someone that knows who you are that sees you, especially when you're at the gym, because we're a supplement store.
Right.
There's going to be a handful of people that know who you are when you go to the gym. Yep. So don't act like an idiot.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But there is obviously huge benefits to it as well. Like I know Alyssa and I, before we had Riley, we were kind of on a kick where we would be able to go out, just pick a bar or a restaurant and just kind of go and knowing that we would run into somebody that we know, like make no plans to meet with anybody, but just find somebody we know. And like most of the time we could run into somebody and they were sitting at the bar and there was a couple open seats and we would just hang out with them for the night. So it makes for a really fun time to be able to just kind of have friends all over the city. So, which I'm sure you guys are, I'm sure you and everybody else at Lush has tons of people that you guys know all over. So.
Yeah, Matt. So Matt, our photographer, his younger sister, Madison, was our like 4th employee. So she was the first one that I hired from the outside, because the very first one was a girl that I personally knew. The second one was a girl I personally knew. 3rd was Leslie. 4th was Madison. So she's kind of in the family or whatever. But then she ended up being our very first model. I used to put myself in it sometimes, but I did this weird thing where I did headless because I just didn't want to be in the picture. So I was like showing our stuff with like just my body. And then
we do that for Thomas too, just because he doesn't have a modeling face.
It's tough out here for me.
It's tough in these streets. But yeah, so Madison wanted her face in it. So, and she's precious. So, and she still models. But when she started modeling, when Lush got like insanely popular, like we got insanely popular overnight. We had a wild few years where, I mean, it was crazy. Yeah. And she was getting recognized everywhere she went.
Oh, really?
They would, oh, you're the Lush model. You're the Lush model. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. We do commercial, or we'll usually run kind of a general awareness ad for Triad, and it's kind of rotated on who's in the videos. A lot of times it's been me. We've had Thomas in those videos. Right now I think it's Gus playing in the video. And whoever is currently in that video ad that's running on social media is usually getting recognized of like, oh, I see you on the advertisements on social media. So.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's a big reason why every time, like during our interviews, like whenever we're hiring somebody, one of the first things we explain is like, once you start working here and you start getting posted on social media and all that kind of stuff, like we always describe it as like the polo never comes off. Like if you're out in public, like you can't be a drunk college kid starting fights at the bars.
Yep.
Like you gotta be, you have to be, somebody knows who you are.
Yes. Yeah. That's part of our training process. One of the things is kind of like, I wasn't in one, but I've heard sororities do this, like no drinking in the letters or whatever. And so I always say like, don't go out in your logo, like that kind of stuff. Yeah. So
I know if we've this was more when we were at Supplement Superstores, but we would go out to a company dinner and there'd be a handful, like 8 or 9 of us. And we very specifically would not wear Supplement Superstores shirts. So that's where Thomas and I come from. This is in Springfield, Missouri, where we used to work and kind of got our start in the industry.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it was a rowdy group of guys. So we were like, we got to not wear Supplement Superstore shirts.
Yeah.
Can't be like,
I mean, honestly, if anybody's broken the no drinking in the letters rule, it's me. But I trust myself when I'm out in public.
Right.
Yeah. You there's a little bit more immediate repercussions if you
exactly. That's too funny. Yeah, we're from another supplement store. Like we're from
You talked about having a few crazy years. What years were those, would you say?
2012 to like 2018, 2017, 2018. Okay. Yeah, 2012, 2013, 2014. I couldn't do that again if I tried. That was insanity. Like we were growing quickly on even like a regional, national scale too.
I remember because we moved in and started build out in 2015 and opened up late 2015. And I remember Alyssa, my wife, because we've been dating before we even moved here, and talking about Lush, and she had friends from Springfield and St. Louis that followed you guys on Instagram, and she was like, they're a big deal.
Yes, it was insanity. Like I said, I couldn't do that again if I tried. Like I don't want to try.
Tough to manage.
It happened so fast, and like there was this popular item, and like any girl that listens to this would know, Picos. It was a brand of tops and dresses, and they were kind of like a boxy fit, but they were a rayon spandex like mixture. It was just really comfortable. They were really affordable, and stores like could not get their hands on enough of them to sell. Well, I kind of went and I actually ended up meeting with the actual brand owner of this doesn't live in America. And like I was just basically went and started producing my own with him. We didn't private label it because we wanted it to be the Pico label.
Yeah, right.
But, we were getting prioritized and we were buying thousands of these in tons of different colors. So not only was I getting prioritized to where we had all the stock of it or a lot of it, we were getting, really good prices on it too. And other places just could not compete, to the point where other store owners would call and ask, can you guys please tell us where you're getting these? Because like these are real. There was a lot of knockoffs too. These are real. We see the label, like nobody else can get these. How are you getting these? And so that's kind of what put us on the national map, was people were searching and searching and searching it. And I can see, what's the most search terms on Google at the time.
Right.
And the people were just wanting these. So, I mean, yeah.
Were you guys doing a lot of SEO stuff at that point in time too?
Yeah. It was still in-house at the time, like meaning it was in my house.
Doing your best to put in all the right words.
I was doing it. Yeah. So yeah, I've been a little bit disconnected from that side of things in the last few years, but yeah, I was really on top of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just kind of blew up, overnight. So it turned from like, we were in an 1,100 square foot space. which is Venue 7. That used to be Lush. So
really? Okay.
So Venue 7 was Lush, and we didn't even have a website for the first couple of years, but then I started putting everything on Facebook, just like pictures and stuff, and people kept being like, do you ship? Do you ship? And I would sell things on Facebook and go like take orders to the post office and like, do it that way. And then once we dropped the website, my office was tiny and I had stuff like literally ceiling, floor, stock for that in there. I had it at my house. So I would wake up every morning, pull online orders. Some of it came from my house. Then I'd go to Lush and like get the rest from Lush and then go ship it. So then it was like we were just bursting at the seams everywhere. And where I'm at now is literally one door over, but it's 4,000 square feet. And it was a children's clothing store. And I kept hearing that their lease was up, and the landlord at the time just kept saying, hold on, I think they're not going to renew. So when they didn't renew, we just came over and like took it over as is.
Nice.
So
that's awesome.
So then we had like a back room that was a little bit bigger, and we were bursting at the seams still. So then it was just like, I call it like playing Tetris in that shopping center, because then it's like, okay, then we go to the corner and we have a warehouse now in the corner. And then we were bursting at the seams. Then we had to cut a hole in the wall and take the other space next to that too. So it happened quick though. So then I like had to hire and hire and hire.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And just, I was working myself to death.
Yeah. That pace of growth, I'm sure was just tough to keep up with. Like if you could have done it like slowly, maybe you could have like hired the right people a little bit more slowly and had some more systems. Yeah, I can't imagine blowing up like that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's like the software was a disaster. Like we were trying to get like both buildings to communicate and just find a process there.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you could anticipate that much growth, that obviously you would have done things a lot differently, but we just kind of just kept rolling with it.
Hindsight's 2020.
Right. Yeah.
But that's huge. We made a lot of mistakes in the beginning as well. But you said the brand was Pico.
Yeah.
That's real. And you said you met the owner of it.
Mm-hmm. So I met like they have showrooms in LA, and I met like his top sales rep, and he was like, the volume that you're doing is even above me. You're gonna have to talk to Taro. His name was Taro, and so you're gonna have to talk to him. And so we would talk like via like translator, and
Wow,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
We that's really cool to hear, because that was a big thing that we really started to implement in 2018, and have gotten more and more into it, where we always had a good variety and always products that we personally like to recommend. We since day one and still to this day obviously have brands and products that we personally really recommend and believe in a lot. But we would get people asking for this popular pre-workout, or this popular brand of protein, or this, they're an influencer talked about this certain product. So they were wanting, so we were getting constantly people asking for different brands and products and stuff that we didn't have. And there's just a huge variety. It's become a very low barrier to entry for supplements and creating your own brand. So it's just grown like crazy over the last couple of decades on how many brands and products are out there.
Yeah.
But so we started to kind of dabble with, it's like, let's really lean into, we've got some of the popular brands, kind of the main ones. Let's really lean into bringing in some more of the popular brands. And that actually helped overall grow our sales. And then we just leaned into it more and more and more, to the point where Alyssa, my wife that does all our ordering, she's gotten very, very good at it. And I think between her and I, and we've been able to kind of navigate where we've had brands legitimately that we actually do quite a bit of loss leaders in our stores, where we will legitimately we'll get permission from these companies that are blowing up on TikTok, and they've got all their stuff is just D2C online, and they don't really want to do wholesale, because if you're selling a bunch and barely able to keep inventory, why do you want to reduce the price to be able to go into stores, right? So But we get permission from some of these places on just ordering direct, like, hey, do you guys mind if we just order like a customer at normal price and just sell it for the same price we get it for? And they're like, I don't think we mind that. So
Cool.
just to be able to have that brand.
To bring it in.
Right.
Yeah.
Just so because
always be on the cutting edge of getting everything.
Yeah.
have that reputation of they've always got everything. And it always was like so satisfying when like someone would come in and we're like, oh man, you guys have Gorilla Mind. Like that's like, I thought that was like only online. Like that's crazy to see in a store.
Nice.
And like builds that reputation of like, we always have everything.
Yeah.
And like one of the more recent ones, similar to your story, we brought Ghost Products in, which is, it's just become a really big brand.
Yeah.
They were GNC exclusive for a while, but are starting to dabble with some other ones.
Good.
And I was the other person that was like reaching out to you to figure out how to get Pico.
How do you get that? Yeah.
I was reaching out. I saw some of these other stores in other countries, these other like more locally owned, but high performing stores in other areas. And I just saw a few of them pick up Ghost and I'm like, how are they getting it?
Yeah, something's going on here.
So I reached out to a handful of different ones and I finally got put in contact, or I finally found someone that was willing to help, and they put me in contact with one person, and that person put me in contact with another person.
Good.
And I ended up going through like 6 different people till I finally got to the point where I was ordering, and we finally brought in as many of the Ghost products as we could. But it's was super cool because like that's not something that you can find it at GNC, but you can't find it at local stores otherwise. So doing our best to carry everything.
It takes that being that persistent too. Like not like I did that with one of our local brands. We were it was zip code protected, and meaning there was too much distribution in my area and they wouldn't sell to us. And I just kept every 6 months, I would circle back and say, has anything changed? We'd love to carry you. Has anything changed? Lush gets bigger and bigger. And then I'm starting to be more confident. Hey, if anything's changed, let me know. But this is kind of what our opening order looks like right now. And I just wouldn't stop until they finally sold. But I did that to a lot of brands too. I wouldn't take no for an answer.
Yeah, right.
But it was a polite approach. I just would not take no for an answer.
Yeah, we did the exact same thing. I think for like probably about 3 years we did that with Ghost Products. Alyssa would reach out. They had a thing or a link on their website that was fill us out to apply to be a retailer, and they would always get back with us of, unfortunately we don't do wholesale to anybody outside of GNC. So and we would get that every 6 months, and yeah, kind of the same deal is I think a lot of people would look at that and say, oh, well, they just don't do wholesale. So, okay, I guess that's just a brand that we can't bring in. But I was very persistent and was finding other places that somehow managed to bring it in, and just was asking them how they did it. Was finally what ended up, because like if we would still be applying on their link or on their website, we'd be still getting the same answer.
Yep.
So
yeah, and people are now asking us, how did you guys get Ghost? And we'll never tell.
Yep. Some secrets,
Yeah.
Good
luck.
Yep.
What year did you start your website?
2012 or 2013. I should know this, but the website kind of just falls into the mix. Like I'm like, yeah, one of those 2 years. I don't know.
Gotcha. And sorry, when did the store first open up?
2009.
2009.
Yep.
So a few years after went on to the website. And today, is it primarily in stores or primarily online, or?
Most of our business is in store. We went for that long period of time that I talked about where we had that strong regional presence, and it wasn't just Pico. That was just an example, but we were shifting a lot towards online, but now we're still primarily now brick and mortar for sure.
Yeah.
But it kind of depends on the season too, because we're about to drop our collegiate collection of OU and OSU stuff, and then online sales kick up for that, and we have more of a stronger online presence just because that's the stuff that people are searching for. It's very kind of specific to, or when the Thunder made the playoffs again this year, that kicked it up quite a bit, and we carry things like that. So kind of depends there, but we're definitely primarily brick and mortar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have to be on your toes with buying, especially with stuff like the Thunder and like OU, OSU. You can anticipate a little bit more, but I know like for us, we did just a quick order of some Triad OKC Thunder shirts, and it was like we had to. I think we asked for them in less than a week as like some custom printed ones for us. So.
Oh yes, I mean I've been doing business with my local vendors for years now. And one of them in particular was sick of me during that time because I'm blowing him up like daily. Like, how fast can you get me this? How fast can you get me that? Do you have what color of t-shirts do you have on your shelves right now that we could print? Okay, they're black. Okay, well then let's print some orange and blue stuff on that.
Yeah,
like, I mean, just like, what can I get my hands on?
Just make them.
They're used to me being annoying, so I have no shame.
Hey, but that's how you get it done, though, right? Like,
I'm like, it's me again.
Yeah, well, and you get to a point too. I feel like kind of like you were saying, where like you get to a point where you're confident enough. You know, your business kind of speaks for itself, and I think we finally kind of begin to reach some of those things too, especially when it comes to like our t-shirt printing or whatever, where it's kind of like, hey, like. We print a lot of t-shirts. Like we would, you know, we need some help, you know, and it's like when you've reached that point, it's like there are a whole lot of places are a whole lot more willing to help, you know, and that's always a nice thing.
Well, I'm definitely a gambler though in those scenarios. Like, I mean, this isn't the first time that Oklahoma City has made the playoffs since we've been around, but it's I gamble. Like if we're in playoff round number 1 and I'm anticipating, okay, I think we'll win this. I'm going to go ahead and just press play on all these orders and make sure that I have so much stock. But I mean, it'll sell next year, you know, but I lost the gamble this last one, but it'll sell. But
well, and the nice thing with that too, is it's like, you know, it's easy with the Thunder because now everybody, especially after last season, is so excited about the Thunder and where we're headed, and the draft was good. And everybody's like, okay, everybody's like full steam ahead back on the Thunder, and so the stuff will move for sure.
And it's kind of like that with collegiate too, like, you know, just kind of anticipating, well, the minute OU loses a game, sales kind of decrease a little bit, or if they lose OU Texas, sales kind of decrease.
OU fans are so emotional.
I've seen it. So
you talk about gambling. I completely relate to that too, because it's my wife that keeps me a little bit more grounded on, hey, I see how much we're actually selling of certain brands and products and whatnot, but I'm the one that's like, when we're bringing in a new brand and we're trying to anticipate, you know, we want to have enough of it to be able to support the initial rush, but we don't want to have so much that like, if we don't have an initial rush, that we're just stuck with thousands of dollars in inventory. But I'm usually the gambler too, of just like, no, if we just go all in on it, we have the full product variety and enough stock of everything. And that's you talked about, we do the one thing that's like really helped hedge our bets a little bit on me being a little bit of a gambler in that sense. I'm not really big on actually gambling, but I do love this aspect of it. But is doing our once a year clearance sale where we sell all the products that Kevin ordered too much of. So.
Yep. No, I like to gamble in casinos too. So.
Oh, okay. You're an actual gambler.
I mean, we had so many good years that we had very successful profits that I just would maybe sometimes invest way too much back into the inventory. But you know, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
That's the fun part about it, though.
Yeah.
When you win, it's super, super satisfying to watch. Like, we've got the right amount of inventory. It's all selling really well. I'm glad I ordered all this. So.
That's funny. That's when you said the Kevin ordered too much, it reminded me of those like cheesy like car salesman commercials where they're like, boss is out of town, we ordered too many Ford pickup trucks, get on down here this weekend.
We should advertise it that way this year.
Kevin ordered too many pre-workouts, we gotta get these things going.
Ryan, I hope you're listening. Ryan edits all our podcasts and he runs our social media. I hope he's listening to this part, because that's how we're going to advertise the clearance sale.
I'll do the voiceover for it.
It's me. That's a good idea. Yeah, clever.
Me, but you doing the voiceover.
Come on down here and try and finish some of this nutrition.
It's pretty good.
Now, since that big rush or that those crazy years that you guys had, have you transitioned your model at all since then, or?
Yeah, I'm downsizing the warehouse a little bit and the online department. Trying to just go a little bit smaller where we used to be. I mean, 16 years is a long time.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
Yeah, right.
I don't have the energy that I used to have to just live there 24/7. I mean, I used to live there. So
I get that.
Yeah, just trying to focus more on brick and mortar again and less on the online department.
Yeah.
But still focus both, just
I think that's kind of how we are too, where it's like, we obviously have like the online side with Define and stuff, and then we have like our brick and mortar when it comes to Triad. And it's just, there is something about like the in-person, like a brick and mortar that I know for me personally, like I really appreciate that like hands-on face-to-face like interaction, because I feel like that's, like you said, people can shop with you online all day long and that's great, but it's one of those, you'll take the sales, right? But it's one of those where it's hard to have a 16-year return customer for an online sale, because there's so many options and it's just as easy for them. But when you have those like in-person interactions, like you were talking about, people coming in and having a cup of coffee, whatever, it's like those are the people that like when you invest into those people, they invest back into you a lot more than like the nameless, or not nameless, but like the faceless interactions that can happen online. Like I know me personally, I love being in the store because I love having that hands-on like relationship building aspect of it.
Yeah. And I mean, with clothing, people always want to try it on if they can. So.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm big on that. Yeah. I struggle with online shopping, and at least for clothes.
Oh
so.
yeah, me too.
Yeah.
We're weird shaped. That's the problem. I'm weird shaped. It does not work for me. I'm 6'4", but I'm all torso.
Yeah.
I am 6'4", and I have a 32-inch inseam, which is like pretty common for like somebody who's like 5'10".
I'm all arm.
Yeah.
If I don't pull my arms up like this when I walk, my knuckles drag on the ground.
Wow. That makes sense. So it's always like pants, I'm fine. I can find pants all day long. I can order pants online and it's not really like too scary of a thing. A shirt? No, it's terrible because they have to be long. Like they have to be long enough where I'm like, if I lift my elbows, it's like, you can see my belly button and nobody wants to see that.
Laurel might want to see it.
No, she told me.
But brick and mortar, I feel like that is how you build that loyal customer base that we talked about, and overall a stable business that maybe doesn't have to take so much effort keeping up with the trends, and we've been doing it for, it'll be 9 years in 8 years now, so we're about only halfway where you're at, and I feel you. I'm getting kind of tired myself.
Yeah.
It's keeping up with which brands are popular, and even a little bit on the clothing side of things. Now we're a supplement store, so we never try and make any money off of the shirts we do. It's primarily or it's really 100% advertising. If we make any profits on them, we usually donate those to charity, and it helps get a few more shirts out the door. And if we can have some more Triad shirts out in the community, that in turn helps our business.
Yeah.
But yeah, keeping up with constantly trying to do some new designs for our t-shirts or some type of clothing, and it's a lot of work. It's fun, but it's nonstop, and can definitely wear you out. That's for sure.
And designing like shirts, like you said, I've been doing that for so long. I've been collaborating with these local brands that I do business with, and they'll give us exclusives on some of our OU and OSU stuff is still licensed by the university, but it's exclusive to us by the brand who holds the really license cool. and all that. But 16 years, I'm running out of ideas.
Oh, yeah.
Like our local Oklahoma section used to be so big, and I'm coming up with all these ideas, and I am running out of ideas to the point where I'm like, we should make a Lush vintage throwback and bring the things back that we had like a long time ago.
There you go.
The vault.
Yeah.
just start back at year one and go back through the 16 years.
Like it used to be all I did was go home at night, scroll Pinterest, like get inspiration and like research. And I do feel like in the last few years I've just gotten a better work-life balance, and so
good for you.
Yeah. But it also, I struggle with the ideas because I'm not breathing it all the time.
Yeah.
It is funny because, you know, we have a mix of like Kevin and I who are in our 30s, and then we have employees that are 17 years old.
Oh,
right. And so it's so funny when we start like talking about shirt designs or whatever. And it's like, it's tough because, you know, we don't want to be, and I know it's the same for you, but it's like, we don't want to be a store that just caters clothing to 30-year-olds, you know, like to 35-year-olds, or, you know, we also want to be up with like the new fashion stuff. But then like these kids come up with these ideas and you're like, I guess, I don't know. like it's not anything I've ever thought of or would like be in my like normal wheelhouse of things to wear, or like cuts of stuff, you know, like all the oversized shirts, and like everything's just so different. And it's so funny because it's like, you know, I don't want to be the old man, but it's like, it's part of it. It's like, gosh, I kind of got to let a lot of the fashion stuff go to the younger ones because they're more into it.
Like, I'm not going to wear it, but we'll sell a bunch because we got the demographic that's shopping with us. We have to convince the 17-year-olds that work for us sometimes too, that we do also have 30 and 40-year-olds working with us, shopping with us too. So we'll put a designer shirt, something together, and they'll be like, "Oh, that's like that's what my dad would wear."
We're like, perfect. Yeah, that's what we want.
Yeah, exactly.
You got it.
Yeah, that's the age difference too. That's funny. One got me the other day because we hire at 17, and I just think that it's still the year like 2012 all the time. I don't know. And like, I mean, I was like I said, I was like 24 when I started the place, and I'm hiring college girls at that time. Like, we had mostly like my age people, and then it's like, okay, I get a few years older than them, and then I'm like, man, I'm getting quite a bit older than them. Well, the other day, one of them was like talking about her parents something and how old they are. I'm like, how old are they? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm older than her parents now. I'm older than her parents. Like, I could legitimately be her mom and it not be weird. Like, and then I'm like, oh, okay, it's kind of like I get older, they stay the same age. But I forgot I'm getting older.
We have kids where I'm finally reaching that where it's like, I could be your dad. I would have gotten in trouble. Right. No. I could be your dad.
Yeah. No. I can be these kids' parents and it would not be weird. It would be like totally fine. Like The
thing that got me is like the mid 20-year-olds that work with us, that when we hire the 17-year-old, like, oh my gosh, they're so young. It makes me feel so old. And it's like, I'm like 7 years older than you. So
Can you believe this person? You know, they were born in 2006, and I'd be like, ew, stop. Like, you were born in 2001. Like, shush.
The first time an application came across my desk that, you know, I called for the interview. We liked her. We hired her. And then my sister does a lot of the data entry part of it. And so I just passed the application off to her. And then I panicked and I texted her at night. And I was like, I think I forgot to ask if they were of hiring age. They have to check a box if they are or not. But I'm like, sometimes you overlook that. And I'm like, I panicked because she was born in like 2000 and something. This was a while ago, but like, she was born
so she's an infant.
So I'm like literally, I'm panicking, being like, "Oh my God, I don't know what we're gonna have to call."
We hired a middle schooler.
We're gonna have to call employment law and figure out how to mess with this one because I actually already hired her. And then she was like, "Carrie, she can be born in 2000 and be like, And I'm like, "Oh shit."
Oh no.
Someone born in 2000 is 24 years old.
Oh right.
I panicked.
It's like, this person was born in like 2006. And I'm like, are they in kindergarten? What are you talking about? Why are we interviewing them?
They're legally allowed to drink.
Oh my God.
I don't know if that's true.
No, I'm sitting here doing the math in my head.
No, it's like, when they can drive, and you're like, what? Oh man. Well, that's fun.
We're not going to say our ages here. So
we're just young pups. Us. It is weird though. It is weird when, like Kevin said, when they're like, when our ones that we already view as young are like, can you believe how young this person is? I'm like, oh, get out of here. I had a customer the other day who was like, he's a regular with us, and he's like, well, they like look at you like you're a grown man, and I'm like, They're like, no, you're like one of the dad. You're like the uncle, and I'm like,
I'm still a college kid working in a supplement
what are you
store.
talking about?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's how it goes. Yeah, it is funny that when they start making those shirt designs, and you're like, yeah, I'm not gonna get that one, but hey, more power to you.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
The funny one was we had Lou Ferrigno for a meet and greet and like signing stuff. This was I think in January, and all the kids that work for us were like, who? Like, who is Lou? Like, no, like that's like some old like washed up guy. And it's like, guys, like people that are your parents' age do shop with us.
Yeah. They forget. Yeah, it's like they're like, why would anybody care? Like nobody's gonna come. And they're like, no, there's gonna be a line out the door. Like
There was.
Yeah, and it's like you just got to remember that this is.
There wasn't anybody under 30 in that line.
No.
Maybe some kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like wondering what they were doing.
Yeah.
We have some shirts that have like portrait designs, like pictures. Like we had the Justin Timberlake, Britney Spears dress in the denim together for like, I think Valentine's collection one year. And we had a Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston shirt, things like that. And these are years old, but like they'd still be cool to us.
Yeah.
But one of them was floating around still in like the $10 t-shirt bin that Brad and Jennifer was. And one of the 17-year-old girls was wearing it the other day. And I'm like, you even know who's on this shirt? And she's like, oh, I totally do.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because there was and this is why I think our mindset is at least like good that we do this, because the company we came from, it was so funny for us for so long when we were the kids, right? Because they would make these ads or put out these things that were so dated, and like for their age is probably like, oh yeah, this is funny, you know. And now we're kind of hitting that, but I remember it was like, we're talking like, oh man, probably 2012 or 2013. The company that we work for, it was a big company, big supplement company. It was First Form. They came out where it was like all the head guys from First Form, and they were calling each other and going, "What's up?" Oh. And you're like, and I remember us sitting there being like, "This hasn't been relevant for
at least a decade."
Yeah, like for so long, guys.
Vintage now.
This is like this hasn't been relevant for 15 years. And I'm like, and we're laughing because like even then I was like, half of our store demographic has no idea what that's from, you know? And now we're like, now we have to keep ourselves from doing that, where it's like we're looking at stuff and we're like, oh, we could do something like this. And I'm like, nope, that's us doing the what's up video. Like we can't do that. We can't do it. Like it's nobody's gonna understand.
I feel like the Brad Pitt, Jennifer Aniston thing is like to the kids now, like that's like, this is going to hurt me to say this, but it's like to us, that's just like, it's a normal thing, but to them, it's like a retro kind of, it's like,
it would be like Sonny and Cher to like us, or like Donnie and Marie, or whoever that was.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah,
gross.
Yeah, oh that's tough. Oh no, you're right. That's a perfect. Yeah, it'd be like wearing a Sonny like
Donnie Marie's Osmond. They're not relevant anymore.
I think they're still in Vegas. Are they alive?
Yeah. I have no idea. Exactly. Yeah, that's like, your employees like, are they still alive? And you're like, yes, they're still alive. Oh, man.
So you talk about having a little bit more of a work-life balance.
How do you do that? Can you help us understand how to do that? Still trying to figure that out.
It won't work for everyone, but I got a divorce, and
that's one way. Yeah,
I got a divorce, and then
Alyssa, if you're listening,
no, I'm not saying to do that, but in my personal experience, that freed up some. I had some free time, you know, and then I realized, okay, maybe I can step away a little bit more. Like it took but the point of that is I was so addicted to working that it took a major life change like that to make me realize that, okay, I can step away. I had to step away.
Right.
So, yeah. That's what happened to me.
I think that's kind of the same thing that you've gone through recently with having Riley too.
Yeah.
Is like kind of given like maybe just a different perspective
yeah.
too.
It's I'm still very much addicted.
But I wasn't claiming otherwise.
I've shifted around priorities, where like a big thing for us, and I always talk about how lucky we are to be in a position where we don't take Riley to daycare, that we get to bring her work with us.
Yeah.
But she'll be 9 months old here in just, gosh, I think later this week.
She doesn't know Brad and Angelina.
Not yet.
Brad and Jen, there's a difference.
Oh, sorry, you're right. I said Angelina. Oh,
Yikes.
Wrong relationship. My bad, Brad.
But yeah, having an 8-month-old with us all day, every day, definitely makes things a little bit difficult on getting your work done. So I've shifted around to where I just do all my work in the middle of the night. Where I realized that it was kind of stressing me out to like, I know I need to give attention to Riley, and I was doing like giving her as much as I could. But even when I'm paying full attention to her, I'm stressing about all the stuff that I have to do. And then I finally realized that most of my work throughout the day could be done kind of whenever. So I just push it back to the evening, after she goes to bed, and sometimes even after Alyssa goes to bed. And if I get any work done during the day as Riley's napping and whatnot, it's like, cool, that's a bonus. Like I just get ahead. And I there's a lot of nights where I don't have to stay up super late, but it's nice. It's been a stress relief to be able to know that I've got that time of like, hey, I'm not going to stress about getting the greatest sleep. Like I'll do okay. But yeah, that's my addiction is still very alive and well. It's just in the evening time.
And it takes some time to like remember, or you're in year 9, you said, or you're in year 9?
Yeah, we'll be 9 years old in November, so we're 8 right now.
Yeah. But yeah, it takes some time to like really remember. Sometimes you have to remind yourself too, like you guys have built such a good work culture, and I feel like I've done the same, and you have such good people. Like every time I go into Triad, like it's just, I can tell that it's a good work environment in there too. And you have to remember that they're going to take care of it. You've got people that you can trust. That will do it almost as good, if not as good as you. So that's important too, because not a lot of people have that. Not a lot of small businesses have that. If they're away, like if they're gone, you don't know what's happening.
Right.
We've definitely gotten very lucky to have the staff that we have, for sure. It's still stressful to let somebody else do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But
I think the thing that helped put my mind at ease was at least a couple of experiences where I was talking to a customer or trying to handle something, an employee stepped in and did a better job than I could have done with either the customer or even just something on the back end. And I'm like, okay, like if someone's better at something than me, then I probably should let them take over.
Yeah. I get that a lot. Like Leslie will bring something to my attention that I didn't think about from the manager's perspective, or she's more front-facing customers than I am, and I'm like, that's why she's the manager and I'm not. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Right.
There's a big reason Thomas is HR and I am not.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
Go-to person. So yeah, what does your day-to-day kind of look like these days?
It's much different than it used to be, but honestly, every day is still different. Every day is different in retail anyways, but typically Mondays are a lot of office work, email marketing campaigns, segmenting, analyzing, reading analytics from the firms that handle like SEO and things like that online back-end maintenance, like cleaning up like sold out products and things like that, then going through and kind of seeing where we're at after the weekend, if I want to reorder anything, what's selling, what's not, kind of just communicating between the store team and what's going on in the warehouse, but more so the store team and merchandisers, and if we need to change anything up in the store and the way it looks. And then usually the rest of the week is like dumpster fires and things breaking and me trying to figure out how to fix it, or
everything you did.
If I don't want to fix it, my sister fixes it because she's more patient than I am.
Does your sister work with you full time?
Yeah, she's a CPA, so we have her in-house now.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's super helpful.
Yeah, it is very helpful. Yes. So she took over a lot of things I used to do, like reconciling stuff, which she takes it to next level. I don't even know what she does anymore. She just does it. Like she handles a lot of the inventory. She's on it.
That's great.
Yeah, so she took a lot of things off my plate. Leslie has taken a lot of things off my plate. I used to be the one that added all the products online too. I don't even do that anymore. She does that. But I mean, I used to do everything. So this was like a slow over the years, like give one thing away to somebody, give one thing away to somebody. But primarily still my job is buying all of the marketing, the back end work, but I still go in and I have to work the sales floor sometimes like as a shift, or sometimes I choose to work out there because it's good to be refreshed on what's going on out there and what the customers are looking for. It helps my job as the buyer.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm forgetting things, but I just feel like I do a little bit of everything still, but I just kind of do it at my own pace now. So
gotten enough back end help.
Yeah,
we're starting to transition. Over the last couple of years, we've started a transition where just even a couple of years ago, I was still very much working a lot of shifts in store as a necessity. But I got to transition fully to the back end. And we've gotten to kind of move some more hours from some people in store to help with the back end to help kind of narrow my responsibilities to the things that I'm either best at or I'm just in a position where it doesn't make sense for anybody else to take care of.
Yeah.
So, but I'm finding myself, I've actually it's become a new goal to be able to pass off enough responsibilities to free up enough time for myself to be able to, I would love to go back and start working a shift at least once a week, because now that I haven't been in store on a regular basis for a couple of years, there's maybe a little bit of a disconnect. We've tried to create enough lines of communication with the staff and meetings and whatnot to be able to keep up with popular products and generally how things are going in the stores but there is, I do think it would be very beneficial for me to be on the floor somewhat regularly. And honestly, I genuinely just miss it because I spend a lot of times, I work at that ping pong table back there a lot. That's my official desk. But I'm working on a laptop, working on my phone, and it energized me a lot to be on the floor talking with people. I worked like an hour at our Yukon store a week or two ago, and I was like, I'm not going to worry about anything else, getting anything done. Like I'm just going to be here and help take customers. And it was so much fun.
Yeah, it's like, that's the best part. And I have to force myself. So I've been so disconnected from the sales floor for so long. We opened up Sundays again this year. We were open Sundays a while ago. We closed, but to help offset the downsizing of my online department right now, I opened us back up Sundays. I wasn't going to ask my managers to do it yet, or, I was going to see if it figure it out on my own type thing. So I was in charge of the Sundays for the first 4 months, and it forced me to, be on the sales floor for 5 hours, reconnecting with my customers again, helping with my job as a buyer, seeing, getting more feedback directly from the customers, but just being more connected in that area anyways. But it's hard, like you said, you are out there, but then I'd bring my laptop out there and be like, okay, if it's slow, I'm going to get back end work done. And then I'm like, no, I need to just be present in this. And that's the best part. I love to merchandise. I love to do all that. I wish that I had no other job and that's just what I could do.
It's when you're trying to do both, both are stressful.
It's messy.
But if you separate the two, they're both fun. So you talked about opening up back on Sundays and you working those shifts.
I was in charge. Yeah.
That is, I guarantee that is a big part of why you've been able to build such a big culture is you see a need of, hey, it would be beneficial for the company to be open on Sundays. And that's not fun to ask somebody else to do that.
No chance was I going to ask Leslie. No way.
Right. So you being willing to
she doesn't deserve that.
you being always willing to do what the company needs or step in where the company needs it and work those Sunday shifts. I'm sure that's a big part of why you've built such a great culture at Lush.
It's pretty funny too, because there was one time I had to get my shift covered. I was like, my boyfriend wanted me to go meet his family for the first time or something at a birthday party. I'm like, man, this is a big deal. I really want to go. Like, I've got to find someone who has a key to the store, who's a key holder that can cover my shift. Leslie's like putting out feelers in the group text, like, can anyone please cover Carrie? She's got to go meet grandma.
Like, I'll switch you shifts. I'll come in on Tuesday.
I was getting desperate. Yes. Yeah. Yep.
I'll cover your Tuesday clothes if you can come in.
I'll Venmo you extra money. Yeah. Like, what? I mean, yeah, no, there's been a couple times I've had to actually, as the owner, get my shift covered.
That's hilarious.
I always thought it was really funny, especially from our manager at the Quail Springs location, Anthony, because he started just as a kid, just working the floor, and he honestly just worked base level for a couple of years, and then finally when we were expanding and opening up in Norman, he stepped up, helped with some training with some new people, helped manage things when I wasn't around. And he was a great go-to person and really stepped into the role. And so we moved him into an official management spot, but I was still working shifts at Norman and in Quail Springs. And it was really funny for him to write the schedule and put me on the schedule.
Oh, yeah.
And then, so I would always make jokes about and like posts of like, boss has got me working again
today.
Yeah.
I think it's hilarious. I have to fill out like our ask off forms, I have to fill out my Sunday ask offs because I still cover 1 to 2 Sundays a month.
Yep.
I have to fill out my ask offs to Leslie and like be like, please don't put me on for this day because I have plans. Yeah.
Denied. Sorry.
Leslie's not too much of a hard ass, is she? That's funny. No, that's a big goal for me. It's just funny. I spent so many years like doing everything. There was even a period of time where we're open 78 hours a week, and I was working all 78 of those hours, and all of the back end, like all of the ordering, all of the inventory, all of the social media, all of the budgeting, everything. And trying to do both of those definitely was stressful. It was easier when we had less customers. But as we gained more customers and we grew, it became stressful of, hey, I've got to prioritize. I've got to get more hours to the back end. I can't do both at the same time. I've got to it became this goal of like, I want to get full-time back end. And now that I'm here, I'm like, man, it'd be cool to work some shifts again.
Yeah,
I kind of miss that.
I've been there. Yeah, that exact turning point where it's like I used to be able to sit in my office, listen for the door chime to go off, go out, help a customer, go back in, and then it was like just kept getting busier and busier. And I'm like, it's 7 p.m. the doors are locked, and now I'm just starting my day in the office, and I'm there till midnight to even just try and be at like a level playing field every day. Yeah. So
that's a super stressful thing. Is I remember having a really negative mindset when we were going through that transition ourselves of I was on days that it was slow. I was stressed because we were slow, and it was like crap. Like I'm like in a bad mood because we don't have a lot of customers coming in. But then it was like, all right, only thing I can do is work on social media or try and like do things to bring more customers in, and I can do that in the back. I can do certain things in the back of the store. So I would work on those things, and then those things would pay off and have a result, and then we'd have all these customers in, and I would be then stressed that I couldn't take care of my back end work.
It's a constant struggle.
So it was like, okay, I finally came to the realization, it's like, I'm looking at the negatives of both of these situations. If we don't have customers, I'm stressed, and if we do have customers, I'm stressed. It's like I need to, on days that we have customers, or days that we don't have customers, cool, I've got work I can do, I've got things I can work on, I've got time to be able to do that. But on days that we've got a lot of customers, I need to just appreciate that we have a lot of customers.
Oh my God. Yeah, like I found myself in those like glory years of like, I mean, I'm telling you, I could never do what I did in those. I don't know how we did that. Like when I talk to other people that are not competitors or whatever, and we'll talk numbers, and they're like, oh my God, like, holy shit, like how did you ever do that? But I found myself at times too, like almost bitching about it, like just like, we're so busy, like can you imagine, we're so busy. But like, and now I'm like, I would give anything to be maybe almost as busy, but not that busy. Like I'm like, now that I know how to manage it all, like let's go back and do that again. But I found myself like complaining about it, like stupid.
How it goes.
So stupid.
It is.
But I've been on both ends. I've been on the end where we had no customers at all too. Like I mean, I used to Swiffer the floors. in the old store and like mop and stuff in the middle of the day. Can you imagine like not having to worry that a customer is going to come in and fall?
Yeah.
Just
Right.
like mopping all day and finding things to do too, and like stay busy just to like keep the doors open.
Yep.
Yeah. I ended up with a really like, I had to like let go of being super particular about everything in the store because I was the same way of like, I would spend all day like organizing all the products, front facing everything. I had our protein bars were color coded. So it looked like a rainbow on the shelf and it looked really nice.
Merchandising. Nice.
Yeah. But then we started to get more customers and hire on new people. And like, they wouldn't put the protein bars in the rainbow, like, coordination on the shelf. And it was like, that's not the way that I did it. It's like, oh yeah. Like, we don't have 3 hours in a row with no customers. So we probably can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
You don't deal with the you didn't deal with the inventory we deal with now either.
That's true.
Yeah.
You're looking. We'll get a new box of things, and it'll be like, okay, the pre-workout shelf is smashed full.
Yeah.
We are already like stacking flavors behind flavors. We can't even display all of them, and we've got 18 new ones to put out.
That's us every day. It's like solving a puzzle every day still too. Because
just shifting this and this
cramming
and
things.
right.
There is no more like perfect displays.
It's
like
so hard. It's we figured out, like, we were looking the other day because we've been talking about like a fridge space and stuff like that, and it was like never verified, but I'm like, I think I have more cases of drinks in the back not displayed in the fridge than we have displayed in the fridge. Like there's more flavors hiding than there's flavors actually displayed. And it's like, it just gets because again, we're always trying to be on the cutting edge of having everything, and so it's like that is great, and it comes at a price, and it's worth it, but it is like, we'll get it and we'll look, and we got a shipment the other day, and it's all cool stuff, and we're excited to have it. We were like, got 3 new pre-workouts, and one of them was 8 flavors, and the other one was like 4 flavors, and the other one was like 5 flavors, and we're like, oh, just please be short enough to stack on each other. Oh, you're not? Cool, perfect. This is we wanted all 8 in a row. Right? Like,
we had at one point, we were like, I was almost doing it like garage sale style in there. Like we had like bins on the floor and things like in the bins, but we have a rule now, like no more bins on the floor, because then like the clothing fiber we call them Lush dust, but like dust bunnies just collect out of nowhere no matter how much we sweep, and these dust bunnies are like getting on the merchandise on the floor, and like
man.
I think it's probably a good thing there's a little bit of a disconnect. That is one thing that I don't really want to go back to doing, is trying to fit more pre-workouts on the shelves.
Brother, we're at a whole new level of it.
We've got one of the best selections.
We have the best selection.
It's we might not have the shelf space for it. I think everybody, I heard it. This conversation probably happened like 6 or 7 times, and now it doesn't, because it was, hey, we're looking at this new pre-workout, and we think it would be popular, or we think we would recommend it a lot, and then everybody like, there's no shelf space left, Kevin, and I'm like, that's a dumb excuse. Order it.
Figure it out. Yeah. My girls have always been just good about figuring it out. Like every now and then they'll come back and be like, we have to transfer some stuff out to the warehouse. We have literally nowhere to put this stuff. But I mean, that's very rare. They're pretty good at just making it work.
Oh yeah, that's same for us. It's just all right. Well, it's always funny because you're like, okay, well, there's an empty, I need to put it here, because they all go like, their pre-workouts get stronger as you go, right? So like strength-wise, and they're like, okay, I need to put it here. This would be a good spot. There's a gap 3 shelves down and 87 products to the right. So if I just shift all this, and I shift all this, and I shift all, and then it's like, and then you get there and it's like, wasn't quite enough room. Okay, cool. Let's shift some other stuff around. What do we care? What do we not care as much about? Okay, let's put that up top. Like, and it's just a shuffle game all the time. It's fun. It's good stuff.
That's a double-edged sword there too, or what's the best way? I don't know how to describe this, but it's we go through periodically. Mostly Alyssa. She'll go through and let's lower the thresholds on the stuff that's not popular, try and make room for all the things that we want to bring in. But that's the caveat to it of, hey, if we're selling a lot of it, we want to keep reordering it. But if we're not selling a whole lot of it, we don't want to reorder it. So, okay, we'll drop the threshold down to 0 and it'll run out. But we zeroed it because it's not popular, so it stays on the shelf forever. And then that's where the Kevin ordered too much clearance sale comes in handy. So.
Well, and the problem anymore, to be honest, and like kind of going back to what you said earlier, just kind of a funny insight, is I think it's the barrier to entry. It's not that there are too many brands of things. It is that, it's funny. Minimums ain't what they used to be, apparently, because I remember when we first started like ordering stuff for Define, and they're like, oh, you want 2 flavors? You need to order 1,000 of each of them, and that's it. Like that. And then it's like, we'll get some new supplement brand, and it's like, it's not having a new pre-workout that's the problem. It's every new pre-workout that we get, and we want to have the full variety. But it's like, how does this brand that's been around for a year have 9 flavors of pre-workout? Why do you have 9 flavors? Like, have 3 good flavors. And if you get 3 flavors, we'd have 3 of each of them, and we'd be fine, and it'd be no problem. But you have 9, and it's like, what in the world? That just takes so much space with all the flavors.
That's how the Pico craze was when we had the Picos. It was like I had to have every color of every single style, and it was like taking over the whole store. Like we were just stacking them high and letting them fly. I mean, like it was wild.
Yeah, isn't it crazy to be ordering like tens of thousands of dollars worth of inventory, and it's like it will move.
Yeah.
Crazy confident feeling in that. That's definitely a really cool part about ordering a lot, and it doesn't always work out, but the Pico stuff sounds like it did.
It did. Yeah.
Those things still popular?
I don't think so. I haven't even thought about that brand in at least 5 years. Yeah. I don't really see them around. I don't think they're in business anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to Taro. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I wonder if, like, do you know, like, being that business, do you know that, like, there are trends to it? Like, there will be potentially a craze and potentially a fall off, or do you just assume it's going to be forever?
Oh, it's a cycle. There's typically always the fall off. I mean, you know what staples are going to be, like basic camis, basic tees, brands like that are going to be around more sustainable for a longer time. But no, most of the stuff I expect it to drop off at some point. And that's part of the gamble in my buying too, is reordering and reordering it. But when do you stop? Like, when is it dying enough to where like people are still going to come in and ask for it, but like, when do you stop? So,
right. Yeah, that is a tough thing because you don't want to be sitting on 1,000 of them or whatever. Like it's, that is one nice thing I will say with like the supplement industry is it's like, the staples are like, they're pretty here to stay. Maybe somebody might switch to something else, but it's like, like we can pretty confident with our stuff, like when we're ordering, especially for like Define, of like, okay, hey, protein powder's not going anywhere. Chocolate and vanilla protein powder's not going anywhere. And so those are nice to have those staples. But yeah, you see these like ingredients and more, it's more of like a style thing where you see, pre-workout style, like combos of ingredients. Like we laugh that our original pre-workout that we made that was like decently popular for, our size or whatever, was way before its time. And that now it'd be way more popular, with maybe slightly updated ingredient profile, but like the idea of it would be way more popular now than it was then,
Yeah.
And then we made another pre-workout, and then that pre-workout, like I think back to like original Define Pre, and it's like we maybe have of like similar product profiles, we maybe have like 4 on the shelf that are like that at all.
And
anymore.
They don't move at all.
No, they don't.
That is a crazy thing to like explain to employees. We've had a couple of things that we've had to explain to employees of like, we will get pre-workouts in without a certain ingredient, and they're like, that just doesn't make any sense. Like, why wouldn't they have citrulline in this? And you have to explain, like, dude, when Thomas and I first started, like, citrulline was like, you could buy it in capsule form because it was so new, but nobody was using it. Like, no pre-workouts had that. Like, that's just how it used to be. And it's like, for the 17-year-olds, it's just like they can't even fathom that.
Yeah.
But they weren't even born when that was a thing. So, but
or they're always like some new ingredient or some new thing will come out and it'd be like, why aren't we doing that? And we're like, well, let's pump the brakes a little bit.
Probably saw it on TikTok.
Exactly. Like, let's pump the brakes a little bit and see if it's like, because I don't know what it's like clothing wise, but turnaround times for supplements are brutal. It is. If you aren't like on your reorder schedule correctly, it can you can go months and months without something.
Yeah.
And so it's like, the people are like, why don't we do this? And it's like, okay, well, if we were to order it today, we might not get it for 4 or 5 months.
Oh, yeah. No.
And it's like, in 5 months, this might not be relevant at all. Like it needs to go through a couple more trials before.
Yeah, that would make it a harder gamble for you to anticipate your needs. Whereas mine is less of a gamble up front, more of a gamble on the reorders because I can get it faster. So,
Yeah.
But it's also, they run out at a certain time too, but I can pretty much get a reorder pretty quick.
We can get like we can get other people's stuff, but if it's like having something manufactured, that's where it just takes forever.
And your stuff, I'm assuming, has an expiration date on the shelf.
About 2 years, yeah.
Yeah. So whereas like my stuff won't expire, it just might get really ugly after a while. But like it's still considered an asset on the shelf.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It's it depends who's looking at that. Banks don't for us, they don't banks are like, "Oh, everything the hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of inventory that you had all expires in 2 years." They're like, "No, we're not going to consider that an asset."
We don't want none of that.
Yeah.
At least for us. But no, that's another thing I've had to explain to employees. And honestly, one nice thing about retail is, there are certain brands that come out, like, again, we try and have everything. And then there's certain brands that we can really lean into of they've got really good formulas. They've got, all their pricing is really structured to support retail really well. And a lot of these brands will even be able to offer us exclusivity. So you have to come to try it to get it. But we see a cycle through brands, and we've been around long enough that we've seen brands rotate of, they just get started and they're very quality oriented, and so they make great products, and they just want to get their stuff going, so they're willing to offer good pricing, exclusivity, and all the things that make sense for us to really lean into that brand. But then they start growing and they start looking at bigger box stores, and then they need to cut their costs to be able to give them even better margins. So they lower their quality. Then you start being able to find it anywhere, and then
they die.
Yeah.
And then it's just a price race to the bottom, and nobody's making any money.
And their turnaround time gets longer to get you your orders.
They don't prioritize you as much.
We try and stay loyal to like the local ones as much as we can, but we love to see them grow. But also when that happens too, sometimes we have to scale back because it doesn't work for us anymore.
It's tough because you're watching, and this might be the point you're eventually getting to, but it's like part of it is just like, gosh, you just watch these companies make the same mistakes over and over and over and over again, and you're like, didn't you learn from everybody else that did this way?
It's and it always ends up the same way too, of like once there's that price race to the bottom and it's carried everywhere, their sales eventually start to drop off, and then they realize that, and they're like, all right, what got us going in the first place? Those small retailers. And I've heard this conversation so many times. We're just getting back to our roots.
Yeah.
I'm like, after you screwed everybody.
Weird.
Yep.
But yeah, we've seen that cycle enough that we've learned it's like, hey, we're okay with leaning into a brand, knowing that might not be forever.
Yeah.
And it's funny to watch employees kind of go through that the first time, because we went through that the first time too, of being really upset and emotional when these brands start to kind of sell out, and realizing, okay, we need to pivot to find some new brands, where now we've done it enough times that it's like these employees are like, this brand they're selling in Walmart now, this is, we're really upset about it. It's like, this is just what happens.
Yep. Welcome to it.
There are plenty of other brands out there, and this is a big part of why we have Define Nutrition, where we control everything. So,
right.
And we don't have to worry about that brand selling out. So unless Walmart wants to offer a deal. Just kidding.
If Walmart, if you're listening.
Do you guys, so you talked about being able to do kind of some exclusive stuff for your store with some of the vendors, and you're doing some of the designing on that. That's super. So is it a mix in your store of pre-designed stuff? And
yeah. So a lot of our local vendors, which another big turning point of the success in those glory years I talked about was the local vendors too, the local t-shirt brands. We really started working with them and doing a lot of our own designs, or they would show us their designs and I would put my own spin on it and say, I like this one, but can we change this, and can that be just ours? that we were selling a ton of local Oklahoma gear, especially around, and I don't like talking about this, but it was around the tornado time, the big tornado times. All of a sudden we see this big spike in all the local Oklahoma gear, people wanting to show their support. We do charity shirts and things like that too. But we saw a spike in sales during that, and we were designing a bunch of our own designs with them too. But yeah, then a lot of the times I just pick what they have as well too. So kind of a collab there. Yeah.
Well, it's probably because you leaned into to supporting local in Oklahoma that they leaned right back.
Right.
Which is how I would look at it.
Yeah. It was unexpected, and we were kind of like, what is going on here? And then we thought it's that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You talked about getting a degree in broadcasting. I went to school for graphic design for 3 years before I dropped out and started working at a supplement store.
Yeah.
What a loser.
That was on a fun conversation with my parents, but
it's okay. I dropped out too.
But it's the first time we did an Oklahoma themed triad shirt. They just moved like crazy.
Yeah.
So that tends to be kind of our go-to, is leaning into one way or another, kind of leaning into being an Oklahoma based company.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's Oklahomans support local more than I've ever personally seen, and I try not to take that for granted. We want to offer the best products, the best service, and the best everything. We don't want to rely on people supporting us simply because we're local, but it definitely is a really, really cool thing to be a part of, for sure.
So you're actually designing them with your graphic design
background. Some of the shirts.
Yeah.
So. In school I learned Photoshop, Illustrator, a lot of the Adobe suite. In the beginning when I was doing everything, I was also doing all the graphic design, which was nice to already have that skill. I didn't have to learn how to, like budgeting. I had to learn completely how to do that from scratch.
Yeah.
But today, I do some of the shirts, but my wife actually picked up an interest in it. I taught her some of the basics of Photoshop and Illustrator, and so like she designed this shirt.
Awesome.
The back is super, super cool.
Yeah.
She does a lot of our triad shirts now. Ryan, who does all our media, he also, again, just starting in the store without really any experience in that realm of things. Just kind of started helping out with our social media because he showed an interest. We eventually let him fully take over, got him a camera, got him the whole Adobe suite. So he's learned Photoshop, Illustrator. He does all of our Define Nutrition. He does all of our designs for that stuff.
Awesome.
So it's been cool to kind of watch some of the people learn those skills and help. And like you, I'm running out of ideas, so sometimes I think of a good one, but it's nice. It's nice to have some other people kind of helping out with that a little bit. So, that was the one thing I didn't have to learn from scratch.
I don't think I use any part of my broadcasting. Yeah,
I
just thought that was a fun thing to do. But if you've heard this angelic voice, I wasn't going to go anywhere.
Oh, that's not true.
The viewers are going to love you.
Yeah. You can be part of our Kevin ordered too many pre-workouts sale commercial if you want to be.
Yeah. Come on down.
Yeah, you got it.
Now, are you using like Illustrator, Photoshop and stuff making designs, or are you working with the vendor primarily, or?
So I don't personally do any of that. Mine's more so just pitching the ideas and showing some inspiration, and then they have their own designer or so I don't physically do that. No.
That's nice because it's time consuming.
Yeah.
It's
not my thing.
There's something I still like. I like doing that. It's honestly probably one of the things that'd be nice to pass off some other responsibilities so I'd have a little bit more time to mess with that kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So.
I'm not patient enough for that. Nope.
That's where it's when I like in school, like I could spend hours and hours and hours working. Like I took a lot of art classes in high school and I could spend hours working on a painting. So yeah, just get focused, get lost in it kind of deal. So
yeah.
Now, obviously, you said you hit a point where you were doing pretty much of everything, what would you say was the hardest aspect of the business that you had to learn when, especially in those years as you were taking off?
Probably like I was handwriting paychecks and looking at tax tables for each person depending on how they filled out their forms and like doing that stuff. And then I was filing like the quarterly tax reports and all that myself, and I didn't have any background of any of that. So that kind of stuff was not my favorite.
Yeah.
Payroll.
And the taxes and filling out the forms and staying on top of that kind of stuff. I taught myself how to use a camera at one point, and I was the photographer. And so, okay, I guess I did use Photoshop a little bit, Lightroom, because I was editing the photos, but like I don't really know what I was doing. So
they look different from when they started.
Yeah. I'm really proud of like a few that I took that just turned out somehow to be like absolute gas, and I don't know how. I'm like, this is fire.
There we go.
The sun's in the background. How did I do this? But like
I was born to do this.
Yeah, like I guess stuff like that. Yeah, I'm forgetting plenty of things, I'm sure. That feels like so long ago. Lush was so different back then, and my day-to-day was so different. I can't even remember half of the stuff I used to have to do. That I passed it off.
You did so much.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Kevin can attest to this a little bit more than me, but it's like, I think when you're starting a business, you just don't even realize how, like, nobody prepares you. There's nothing that can prepare you for all of the things that need to get done and all the little intricate things. Like, you would come from already working in the industry, similar to us already working in the industry, but then it's like, I remember, us talking about it, but like, and you kind of explaining it being like, oh, like, we know how to do this. We know how to do all of this. And you get in there and you're like, wait, what's all this now? Like, this is not all of it is just talking to customers and like selling protein. Like, there's a whole like back end of this business that we have to do. That's like exceptionally difficult. And you're just like, yep, learn on the fly. Good luck.
I was literally handwriting checks. I mean, we had quite a few employees, and then my sister kind of came in and was like, are you not using like Paycom or something? Like, are you not using like something automated? I'm like, I don't know how. And she was like, I'll figure it out.
Yeah, right.
That's Alyssa does a lot of that she does all our payroll, and actually she learned how to keep our books. She's not a CPA, so kudos to her for just kind of figuring it out.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's super nice to have someone that is a CPA on staff, because I'm sure they're very much more analytical. They know all like how to actually submit the taxes, so they know how to keep the books throughout the year. So for us, our accountants really just kind of organize everything that we put together at the end of the year. But yeah, she's really big on like I still do budgeting, like, which obviously I'm transferring a lot of money online, but like there's something about, I still just like writing, like I take a notepad and a pen, and I'm writing out numbers. And Alyssa's big on like, you should put this all in an Excel sheet, and it would just calculate all of it for you. You'd plug in one number and it'd calculate all. It's like, I don't know. There's something about like, it's time consuming, but like, I don't know. It gives me time to think about like how much money's flowing in and where it's going, kind of deal. So.
Oh yeah. My sister, she doesn't use a calculator. She pulls up Excel, and like, even if we're just asking her a simple question, like, hey, if this costs this, like, she pulls up Excel and like plugs it in there. We got her a coffee mug for Christmas that says "freak in the sheets," and it's like
Excel sheets. That's so funny.
My brother-in-law, he's a CPA, and he's actually helped us out with our books prior to Alyssa doing a lot of it. And so our go-to presents for him are always accounting jokes.
Yeah, I love a good pun.
Classic.
I would say that was probably the hardest part for me was. A big thing that I took over. So I don't know if you remember or not, but I started with two other guys, so two other partners in our first 2 years. And we got to the point where we were able to pay the bills of the business, but not ourselves.
Right.
And it was kind of stagnant, and there were a lot of moves that needed to be made, a lot of improvements, and a lot that we had learned in those 2 years. And it was tough to do that with three people. So, and they had other things that they wanted to do. So, and still very good friends with them. Chad and Vincent, they'll both be at Thomas's wedding. So just got to see them at the bachelor party. So
I'll be in it.
Yeah, great guys. And I'm really, really glad that we were able to go separate ways and still remain good friends. But Vincent was the one that he's very analytical. So he was doing all of our books, all of our like submitting all our taxes, all of that. And so then he like passed it over to me, and he's got this Excel sheet that's freaking massive and like 12 different tabs. And he's like, here's how, and he took like 3 hours one time to walk me through how to work all of it. And it was like, all right, I think I'm just going to buy products and sell them, Vincent.
Yeah. In the years that we aggressively grew, my sister wasn't there yet. She came on after that. And so I just kind of let everything go, and we were profiting so much so fast. I called the person who was doing the bookkeeping at the time, but it was more so like that. Like I was, categorizing everything and then just giving it to them to file that way or whatever. I was so behind on everything, and I kept telling them, like, I'd email them and say, I feel like I should be doing something about this. Like, this ship is out of control. Like, I feel like I should be doing something that I'm not doing. And they're like, you just focus on selling right now. This is insanity. Just sell.
Yeah.
And we'll fix it later.
Right.
It's like, narrator, we fixed it for years later.
That's
My sister's still fixing things from.
Right.
Was there anything detrimental that?
No,
Okay.
just messy. Like,
Yeah.
I was messy with my inventory. Like, like things would get damaged and they'd get lost in the mix for a while. Like, we're just so much more structured now, but this was we were just literally just selling. And so it was a lot of inventory stuff that she's cleaning up. But,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I know for us, we did well in our first like year or two. And then, but a lot of the stuff that we were implementing really started to pay off like towards the end of 2018 and getting into 2019. And so we're watching sales grow, but then like money in our bank accounts are going like getting less and less. And I'm like, what the hell's going on here? I'm like, I guess we're spending outside of our means, but I'm like, I don't know where that line is because we weren't keeping regular books. It was like, so it was for the first 2 years on my own. It was definitely one of those things of like budgeting, financing. It's like, I just don't like, that just sounds so boring to me.
Yeah. It's not fun.
Yeah.
And we were put in a position at one point in time where we had enough money to reorder products or run payroll, but we couldn't do both. Yep. So I remember leaving. This was after we did a lot of work of figuring this all out, but I remember leaving on Friday that week, and it was Anthony and Alfonso that were working Saturday and Sunday, and I was like, all right guys, make sure you sell enough so we can run payroll on Monday.
Like,
little did they know.
He was serious.
Yeah.
They laughed and they were like, wait, you're joking, right? I'm like, see you guys.
Yeah. Figure it out. Yeah.
Good luck.
But yeah, that was a really interesting part to it kind of forced me to have to, that's where Alyssa started keeping regular books to be able, and where I started to become a lot more financially literate. And we implemented a budgeting system. So I got to understand like a lot of what was happening was our inventory was just growing. So it was like our sales are growing and we're still profiting for the most part. But all of that money is just going into more inventory, which is why our bank accounts are so low. And it was like, okay, so like I'm understanding like cash flow. That's why we put this budgeting system in place. But then I also can understand the line of like making sure that we show a profit for month to month. So I know where the line is now of spending outside of our means. So, but yeah, that was, I can remember the exact situation, exactly where I was, realizing that we only had enough money for one or the other, and being like, okay, I think we need to do something now. And
that was your success turning point.
Yeah.
Everybody has one. I know exactly where mine was too. Like, I almost quit. I was in year 2.5 of a 5-year lease in the small little store. And I mean, it was like making a little bit of money and not really a whole lot. And it just, I don't know, it's time consuming. I was there 7 days a week, and I just was kind of, I don't know what I'm going to do at this place. I looked at maybe applying to law schools and just totally pivoting, and we were going to try and sublease that space. Or my dad had a real estate brokerage at the time, and he was like, we can just maybe put a branch in there. Or, we were really seriously looking at like, maybe it's time to like hang it up.
Wow.
And it was about this, it was summertime, and I just walked out one day and I looked around and I was like, we don't have enough shit in here to sell. Like, truly, I was just like, these racks look bare. We need to pack this place. Like,
right.
we need to pack this place. So I think I had like $30,000 in the bank account at the time, and I drained it. I just drained it. I was like, we're about to go back to school, all this stuff. And I was like, it's now or never.
Why not take a chance?
Yeah.
I'm just going to drain it and just pack this place. And that was the turning point. Like, I packed it from ceiling to floor.
Yeah.
And saw a turnover from that, huh?
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know that was very much in 2018 after the partners left and we were kind of stagnant and there were big moves that needed to be made, but we weren't having a lot of money coming in at that point in time. But we had a few reserves and we were able to spend a little bit, and it was like, man, like partners are leaving. Like, I don't know if this thing's going to make it or not. It's like, but like I didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay and wanted to try. It's just like, well, let's not just let this thing slowly die over the course of 5 years. It's like, let's go out swinging.
Yeah.
Like, let's take a chance. And like you said, it's like, let's bring in all the popular brands. Let's become the store that's got everything.
Introduce more loss leaders, like just get people in the door.
Right. Yeah. We started doing more t-shirts, more marketing at that point. It was just like spending money that I didn't know if we were going to get back or not. Or I didn't even know if we had it. So
it's like nothing to lose at that point.
Yeah.
I think that's every successful, I know this is unsuccessful entrepreneur, but every successful entrepreneur has a story similar to that.
Yeah. But you're just like, screw it.
Yeah.
Let's just do it.
Yeah.
Like let's stop and that's it. I think it's like the burn the boats, burn the bridges, like no turning back, put everything on red. Let's go. Like we don't have any other choice. Like it's, we'll make it work or we'll die trying.
I wasn't making a lot of money at that point, so I didn't have a lot of expenses. So it's just like, I can file for bankruptcy, or what are they going to take my rented house? Like,
right, yeah. Nothing to lose.
I wish I lived there. They better not. They kick the roommates out. Hey, your one roommate filed for bankruptcy. We've got to repossess half of the house. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I do think we're getting close to a couple hours here.
Yeah. It goes by quick, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. This was awesome, though. I really appreciate you coming on and giving it's so funny when we talk to people who, obviously work in a completely different thing than what we do. It's always so interesting to hear all the similar stories and the similar things. Like, you realize that it's at the end of the day, like, so much of it is the same while it's different, and kind of like we have a lot of similar philosophies on how things should be done. And I think that's why you've seen the success that you have, and hopefully we continue to see the success that we have. But you just see how much that emphasis on, knowing your regular customers' names, like really diving into the customer service side of things, being a friend, taking the extra time, writing the thank you cards when you were doing that, like, it's something that we are just so fully invested in and believe in, because we really do think it makes a difference. And so it's always really cool to hear other people who are further along in their business journey than, like we've had the opportunity to be, and how like that success and some of the things that we're doing like played a good role in like the success that you've had. So we just appreciate you coming on here and sharing stories and talking about all this stuff, and congratulations on, all the success that you've seen with Lush. Like, it's so cool to hear how awesome it is and all the different stuff, and kind of getting to a place where you've got a good work-life balance, and all that kind of stuff is awesome. So we just really appreciate you coming on and kind of sharing with us. So
thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course.
We know you're busy, and I know you said last Monday was pretty stressful, and
Monday isn't stressful.
Amen.
Yeah, that's a good point. You texted that, I was like, gosh, I'm pretty stressed this Monday too.
I was like, oh, thank God.
But I was like, next Monday, I think it'd be wishful thinking to assume that it's not going to be any less stressful. So, it is cool to hear your stories, and especially in another industry of, I know personally, it's as a business owner, it's easy to look at other businesses and just assume that other industries or other businesses are just killing it, and they just they picked the right thing and they got lucky and they're taking off. So it's and that's why we call this the Unsuccessful Entrepreneur Podcast, is because it's nice to hear those stories of you had to go through very similar experiences that we had to. You had a couple of years of just kind of figuring out if it was even going to take off or not, and some years of just trying to really figure things out as you're growing and making some mistakes and having to clean them up and learn from them. And so it's comforting to know that I didn't just pick the wrong industry, the wrong business.
I failed a lot before. I still fail. I'm not embarrassed to fail, but that's one thing when I speak at UCO sometimes or if anyone just randomly asks me, I'm starting a business, like what's the one piece of advice? I always say, don't be afraid to fail. Like, don't be afraid to fail because you're going to fail first before you succeed.
Yeah, that's right.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of that too is there's always a way. There's always a way to figure it out. There's if you're willing to put in the time, willing to put in the effort, willing to when you run into problems or situations or roadblocks or things that seem like they just can't, you're not able to get past them. There is a way to get past them and continue to move forward. Yep. So as I've always been a big one, and again, I hope nobody gets offended by this, but I don't believe that businesses fail. I believe people run into very difficult situations and quit. So,
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that, I'm sure there are situations, and external factors, but I do believe that there were a lot of times where it would have been very easy for us to say, there's no way out of this. And some situations that I could explain that don't really seem like there's a way out of it for sure. But,
absolutely.
But you spend a couple of days and you find a way and you're like, okay, well, the only solution to this is I won't sleep for the next month, but
we'll figure it out.
Right.
It's also comforting to hear you just flat out say addicted to work, because I think my wife, I think Alyssa would be very happy to hear me say this too, because I think she definitely believes that I am addicted to work, and I guess I'm willing to admit that now.
This is a breakthrough.
I was absolutely addicted. I mean, it's all I did. I would stay up till 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Just getting inspo or no, it's literally all I did.
There's a fun part to it though, right? Yeah. Well, I'll contact you on figuring out how to rehab this.
What episode was this?
49.
49. Episode
Nice.
49. Yeah, we've done a couple of these now.
Yeah.
My goodness. 49. That's crazy.
Yeah. But yeah. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Again, this was Carrie Boevers with Lush Fashion Lounge. If you haven't checked out her place, please do. They've always it's constantly new stuff in there. Very, very popular. I know everybody likes your stuff because I've seen the lines when you guys do sales or run events. The line that covers the entire shopping center and around the corner. So, very, very popular place. So it's been cool to be your neighbor over the last 8 years.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Yeah. Appreciate you taking the time, and again, thank you guys for listening.
Thanks, guys.